Good morning, colleagues. We're going to start in 1 minute. I just want to test the sound. If you can hear my voice, please give me the thumbs up. Everyone is muted. Thank you so much. We'll start in 1 minute. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, property practitioners. The time is exactly 10 o'clock. Good morning, stakeholders. My name is Naledi. Today's webinar, we're going to focus on the two important topics that we advertised. Your guide to the PPRA registration for new Fidelity Fund certificate. I'm sure most of you have those queries if you've seen the new portal that was launched few weeks ago, and Advocate Vile is going to take us through. And our other topic will focus on consumer rights and property transactions. You know, we want to know, especially for you, property practitioner, what is it that you must understand when you have to deal with consumers in relation to Consumer Protection Act? And we want to bring understanding in the registration process, especially the steps that you need to take for those who are becoming new property practitioners, while we also impart another knowledge when it comes to consumer rights. We want to ensure that, practitioners, they conduct their businesses ethically, fairly, and, within the laws of South Africa that we have. So today's discussion, colleague, will also maybe highlight particularly on Section 48 of the PPA, and will also want to highlight on the Regulation 4 of the National Consumer Commission. And we have two speakers today. And our first speaker will come from PPRA. Her name is Advocate Deborah Vile. I'm sure you know her as you came to our offices before. And she is the Executive Manager, Registrations and Licensing here at the PPRA. She's also assisted most of you with exemption related to Section 4. She obtained her BA Law and postgrad LLB degree at the University of Natal, and then she was admitted as advocate for 38 years. So she's been in the industry for quite some time. She spent more than 20 years as a prosecutor, criminal civil magistrate with the Department of Justice, and she worked, 11 years in private advocate practicing, dealing with all areas of civil law. She's an expert when it comes to litigation, legislation, compliance, and civil liability. Our second speaker now, her name is Ms. Poppy Kweyama. She is the Divisional Head, Education and Advocacy at the National Consumer Commission. And, one of our industry bodies, we saw they've articulated a wonderful article on, direct marketing. I'm sure you've worked with her before. Ms. Kweyama is a divisional head, and, she brings over 20 years of combined experience across the private sector, public services, and public entities, of which 5 years it has been in her executive management, 10 years as a senior, with a remainder in middle management. She really has good experience, in this sector. I mean, she began her career in 2000 and she transitioned to public services in 2002, where she gained a broad exposure in, areas of education and advocacy. She also worked in corporate governance, stakeholder management, Corporate Services and Human Resources. And she also managed the relationships between Department of Trade Industry, which is the DTIC, and its public entities for more than a decade. But she's not alone, colleagues, Ms. Kweyama. She's joined by Ms. Ntako Ngobeni, who will join her in the Q&A session today when we tackle the question. And before we can bring in our first speaker, I just want to go through the housekeeping rules. We'll see the messages. Those who are struggling technically, please log out, refresh, rejoin again. The microphones will remain muted so that we can allow the speakers to speak. Our first speaker, PPRA, will speak. Then our second speaker from NCC will also speak while everyone is muted. Even if you raise your hand now, we will recognize your hand after the presentations. We encourage you to put your questions on the Q&A or on the chat. We are going to answer them throughout as they present, and some of the questions we'll read them out as they finish the presentations. We will address, as much as we can in the Q&A before we close the webinar, so we don't disadvantage everyone. Yes, the recording will be shared on PPRA TV YouTube channel. If you're not following us there, please follow us so that you can access the recorder. The slides will be shared with everyone who attended the webinar, because I know someone will ask, will you share the slides? Yes, we will share the slides. And should you need assistance during the webinar regarding your FFC registration queries, or if you have a PIN or a reference, or you've sent applications, there's Thokozani Khumalo in the session coming from FFC registration unit with, he reports to Advocate Vile. So all the queries, he will be monitoring them as well and trying to assist you as they present so that we get your matters resolved on the day. If you have a reference number, or even if you don't have a reference number, we will still assist you. Let me allow Advocate Vile to flag on a slide mode. Yes, I can see it on a slide mode so that it's bigger. Yes, so that we can start. Thank you, Advocate. Over to you.
Thank you, Apologies, sorry to come through. Apologies, Ntako. Sorry, Naledi, I think the issue might be the Ntako you had in present are supposed to be on the attendees, because you said Miss Ntako Ngobeni, and this one is not. Yes, so
it's Mr.
Get the right Ntako in the platform for Q&A. Thanks.
Oh, okay. No, it's fine. I'll speak to Miss Bobby. I think you shared the name and surname. We will get the correct one. Okay, apologies, no Advocate. You can continue. Thank you, Mr. Ntako.
Thank you, Naledi. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our registrations and licensing webinar. There are a few changes in terms of the Act, which we've announced to you previously. We've explained previously. I'm going to touch on a couple of them. And then, of course, the new registrations and licensing portal, which we are in the process of rolling out. And we're going to discuss some of those aspects as well. Naledi, if you will just advise me if I need to stop at any stage or if there are any difficulties, because I cannot see the meeting. I've got the slide mode on, so if you'll just stop me if needed. Thanks very much. But first thing I'm going to look at on our first slide is the changes in registration under the Property Practitioners Act, how they were previously, how they are now, and then how they are accommodated under the new Property Practitioners Registrations Portal. The first thing just to remind everybody about is the fact that the Property Practitioners Act is the legislation which creates the PPRA. It also governs the PPRA, and it creates us as a regulator of the property practitioner industry. This is in terms of the Property Practitioners Act 22 of 2019. That act came into effect by decree of the President on the 1st of February 2022, and we have been making changes, doing some amendments, doing some adaptations to be able to fully implement all the provisions of that Act and the regulations. So one of the first things that is changed in the Act is some of the registration and licensing processes. You will be aware by now that we now regulate 12 industries. We also have the new type of Fidelity Fund certificate for individuals, which we call the floating FFC. We still have FFCs for firms. FFCs are now valid for a 3-year period in terms of the Act and regulations. The costs of an FFC have changed. So your Fidelity Fund cost is a 3-year cost now. You also have a registration once-off payment to the Fidelity Fund, whereas previously part of your FFC fee went to the Fidelity Fund every time you renewed. Now the Fidelity Fund gets a once-off payment when you first register, and admin fees are payable for various services where there is no legislated fee, which is set out in terms of your FFC cost. In terms of the new regulations, we also have a new animal called the exemption, and we have an exemption application which requires you to pay an exemption fee, an E1 form, and to follow the process, which we'll talk about in some detail further on. There are a number of changes in the other business units as well, set out by the Property Practitioners Act. One is the Education Department. There are a lot of educational changes. The Enforcement Department has various changes as well. And of course, we have the Transformation Department, which is now enabled in the Act, which has its own funding source. And we have one of our most important mandates, which is to assist with the transformation of the property sector. So what we're dealing with today, of course, is your registration and licensing changes and how they are implemented in the new portal. So just to remind everybody, and you will have seen this previously on our website as well as in our various presentations, the 12 industries which we now regulate as a regulator. Just to very briefly go through them: your estate agent industry, auctioneering industry, bond and bridging finance originators also fall within our ambit, HOAs who perform property practitioner activities, managing agents, property facilitators and intermediaries, business brokers, including the sale of franchises and business undertakings in the property sector. Developers are now also under our regulatory authority if they market and sell their own developed property. Timeshare and fractional ownership practitioners fall into the ambit of the PPRA. Property advertising platforms who perform property practitioner activities are also now governed by the PPRA from a regulatory point of view. Property practitioners who specialize in collecting and distributing trust money in terms of Regulation 241, though they are also regulated by us. And this is a new type of industry created by the Act, which we call payment processing agents. So you may know this type of industry as those entities that operate such as PayProp, who actually do the administration, the holding of trust accounts for property practitioners, and in this way allow them not to have to hold their own trust account. And then the final one is attorney employees. So your attorney employees, we've always regulated. We've regulated them as a separate part of estate agents, but they are now a separate industry on their own. And just to explain very briefly, attorney employees are those employees of an attorney's legal practice who are employed by the attorney's legal practice and whose occupation, whose duties at the legal practice consist wholly or primarily of property practitioner activities for the attorney. Bear in mind, this is for the attorney in his capacity as an attorney and not as a property practitioner. Your attorney is exempted from registering with the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority for purposes of those property practitioner activities which he performs within his legal practice, in the name of his legal practice, from the address of his legal practice, and such as arise as part of his legal practice. And his employees who assist him with those property practitioner activities, they are required to register with us as property attorney employees. If an attorney wishes to register or wishes to operate a property practitioner agency, such as an estate agency, under its own name or separate from his legal practice, he must register with us as an estate agent, and he must then register his firm. And that is not his legal firm, that is his property practitioner firm or estate agency, or whichever industry he operates. So that's just a brief explanation of the different industries which we now regulate. We're going to look at the historical framework, and you all, those who've been in the industry for some time, will know that up until the new act, the PPRA, each firm had its own FFC. Each firm had a principal and its employees, and bearing in mind that at that stage we only had estate agent firms. They were the only firms that were governed by us. There were no others. And so we had a principal and their candidates, their full status agents, etc., in those firms previously. Each principal and his employees had an individual FFC under the specific firm or firms which he or she were employed under. Each branch had a firm had its own FFC. Each director had an FFC, including non-executive directors. Every firm and principal had to hold a trust account for which the principal was responsible. And each firm, principal, employee, and branch paid for each separate Fidelity Fund certificate separately, which was to be issued. And against that historically legislated framework, we'll look at what has changed. So under the new Act, each firm still has its own Fidelity Fund certificate. Each estate agent firm still has a principal and his employees, which are registered as candidates or full status agents. We now have non-estate agent firms and agents, and each non-estate agent firm has a director and employees, not a principal and employees. The reason for that is that your principal is a status which is achieved in the estate agent industry by passing certain qualifications and certain board exams. Your non-estate agent firms are not required to comply with that regime, and therefore they do not achieve the status of a principal. They are instead directors of the company, and the director is the responsible person. So your non-estate agent firm has a director and it has employees. Your employees are not candidates or full status agents. They are simply employees because they do not have to perform the educational requirements of an estate agent, which would qualify you to be either a candidate or a full status agent. And this is because under the new Act, each industry is required to have its own standards of training, and the Education Department is still in the process of developing those standards for each industry. Under the new Act, each principal and employee now have only one Fidelity Fund certificate, and that includes each director and employee of a non-estate agent firm. So they only have one FFC, which is what we call a floating FFC. We'll talk about that a little more in due course. And that FFC qualifies them to operate under any firm that they are registered under. So please remember that this doesn't apply to your firm FFC. Each firm still has its own FFC. But your individuals who are associated with the firms have one Fidelity Fund certificate, which is now valid and which empowers them to operate under all the firms that they are registered under with us. Each branch of a firm still has its own Fidelity Fund certificate, unless it has the same principal and the same legal entity as your main firm. If it does, then it can use the Fidelity Fund certificate of your main firm, which is issued to the firm itself, which obviously must be the same entity. It must have its same name. There can be a geographical difference. For example, if you're talking about a firm called Remax Star, let's say that's the main firm, and you have Remax Star Bedford View, Remax Star Umhlanga, any of those. If they're the same legal entity, they're under the same firm, they have the same principal, then they can use the main entity's Fidelity Fund certificate, and they don't get one for themselves. Right. The change now is that each director has a Fidelity Fund certificate, but non-executive directors can now apply for an exemption, so they do not have to register. And your non-executive directors are those who are either non-executive directors on your CIPC documents, or those directors who are not engaged in the property practitioner running, the property practitioner activities of the firm, and they do not oversee any property practitioners. So we're talking about IT directors, HR directors, people of that kind who perhaps do not have any direct bearing on what happens on a day-to-day basis from a property practitioner point of view. Remember that those directors apply for an exemption, and they complete the E1 form, which we'll talk about a little later, submit their CIPC documents confirming that they are a director, or alternatively a resolution of the directors confirming that they are a non-executive director, or a director who's excluded by Regulation 4117 from having to register if they receive an exemption. But your firms can apply for an exemption from a trust account now, which you couldn't do before. And this is if you do not receive trust monies, right? Your rental agents, your managing agents, in most instances, will always receive trust monies and will not generally be granted an exemption from holding a trust account. But estate agents, for example, who only perform sales and whose deposits go straight to the conveyancing attorney, would be able to apply for an exemption from holding a trust account. There is still the blanket requirement in Section 54(1) that every property practitioner who operates a firm has to have a trust account and has to comply with the trust account audit requirements of the Act and regulations, unless there is an exemption granted. Only natural persons pay for Fidelity Fund certificates under the new regulations. So firms do not pay for your Fidelity Fund certificate any longer. They simply pay an admin fee, and the normal FFC fee does not apply to them. As I've said, admin fees are payable for services not charged for under the PPA. Okay, I've given you the quotation from Regulation 4122, which is the regulation which required us to change the strategy and the framework for Fidelity Fund certificates and to create what we call the floating FFC. And this regulation says that where a natural person acts as a property practitioner in different capacities within the same industry, a single Fidelity Fund certificate shall be issued to that natural person in respect of all capacities in which they act as a property practitioner within that industry. And then there's still Regulation 25 and 26, which prescribes that every firm is to hold an FFC in every industry in which it operates. So the effect on the industry, the effects of the industry-based floating FFC are set out in this slide. You will see principals, employees, and firm FFCs are no longer interdependent. They are issued independently of each other. That means that you don't get an FFC for each and every firm that you operate under. You have one FFC which allows you to operate under all the firms that you are registered under, and each firm has its own Fidelity Fund certificate. It may not coincide with the period of validity of the natural person's FFC, and it has to be then renewed, possibly at different times. So when a principal renews his own FFC under a specific firm, previously the firm FFC generated and issued automatically. That no longer happens. If he did not renew under his firm, then no firm FFC or agent FFC would issue, and now your firm FFCs are applied for and issued separately. Your employee FFCs were issued based on firm and principal FFCs. Your employee FFC is still dependent on the compliance of the firm and the principal, okay? But it is not issued for the specific firm itself. It's issued to the individual, unassociated with the firm on the FFC template, although you are associated with that firm in the records of the PPRA. So your principal has one floating individual FFC for all firms. All his firms have their own FFC, and your employee has one floating FFC for all employers. And obviously, if you're a candidate or a full status agent, you will only have one employer currently, and so your FFC will be applicable to that particular employer. Principals must remember to renew their own FFC when it expires, as well as the firm FFC when it expires, and they might not coincide. So I've given an example of your principal, Joe, who has 3 firms. He has 3 FFCs issued to him. 2 of them were valid from the 1st of January 2023. One of them was issued on the 1st of January 2025. So they expire in December 2025 and December 2027, respectively. His 3 firms are Moneybags Realty, and this has its own firm FFC, which expires in 2025. He also is a principal of My Property CC, and this firm FFC expires in 2027. And his 3rd firm, Pay Me Now Estates, has its own FFC and expires in 2025. First thing to note is that Joe does not need a new FFC until October 2027. That is when his current FFC that is valid for the longest period will expire. And he does not need to renew or pay for an FFC for himself under any of his other 2 firms when they expire, so long as his current 2027 FFC is still valid. In 2025, Moneybags and Pay Me Now need to pay an admin fee and obtain their new Fidelity Fund certificate. That's a renewal. And in 2027, Joe will apply for his own new floating FFC. It will not then be issued under any firm, and he must submit renewal documents for himself as well as his current firm. The current firm also then, My Property FFC, that FFC has also expired in 2027, so that will also have to be renewed along with his own, and he will then pay an admin fee for that. So a summary then, currently your practitioners under more than one firm had multiple FFCs which expired at different times for themselves. While one of the FFCs is still valid, there is no need to apply for a renewal. Once all existing principal FFCs have expired, the next FFC applied for and issued for the principal will be a floating FFC, which will not be associated with any firm. All firm FFCs must be renewed when they expire. Your natural persons pay FFC fees, and your firms pay an admin fee. Just a couple of notes to the summary. No application form is required for a firm FFC to be issued. So your firm CIPC documents, new BEE certificate for juristic persons, your tax clearance certificate for all firms, and your proof of payment of the admin fee are required. And your regulation 15.5 and 15.6 do not apply to firms. So that is the provision which requires you to fill in and submit an application form and pay a fee for a fidelity fund certificate fee for your FFC. Okay, when the principal renews his floating FFC, he will apply as required by Regulation 21. That is with your application, your compliant documents, as well as your payment of your FFC fee for his own FFC. And when a principal is added to an existing firm or he registers a new firm under him, he does not get a new personal FFC or individual FFC for himself. Only the firm gets an FFC, and payment of the admin fee for the firm FFC and the agent's amendment of records are required. Okay. Furthermore, employees' FFCs are not issued under any firm. Their FFC is dependent on the principal and firm having an FFC because they operate under one firm. So although they get their own FFC, which is not marked as allied to a firm, their FFC is still dependent on compliance of their principal. Your firm FFC must be created using a separate function, as we talked about. Principals need to request and pay an admin fee for their new firm FFC when it expires. And your firm FFC will still only generate if the principal has a valid current floating FFC under any one firm in the industry. Okay, a couple of other notes. Principals still pay a 3-year FFC fee to renew their floating FFC. Employees do the same. A principal who opens a new firm or joins a new firm does not pay to be issued with a new FFC if he has a valid current floating FFC. For him to be registered under that firm, he pays an administration fee, which is escalated annually. And for a new firm, the firm does not pay for an FFC. The firm pays an admin fee instead to assist us in covering our costs due to the fact that your FFCs are now issued free for firms. An employment change no longer attracts a new FFC because your current FFC, not being allied to a particular firm, can now continue to be valid and applicable to whichever firm you are now registered under. And of course, please note that when you renew your Fidelity Fund certificate and you submit an application for such renewal, that does not affect an employment change. So if you want to change your employment, it is essential that you do a separate application, that your employment change is done first, and that you then apply for your renewal. You can pay for it and submit an application, but it will not result in your firm employment being changed until after that has happened separately. And then your FFC will issue accordingly. A status upgrade must be requested after your qualifications have been updated by education. And this also does not issue a Fidelity Fund certificate. So please note that your status upgrade doesn't happen automatically anymore with your qualifications being updated. You have to ensure that education do that. But once that is done, you apply, but we're using an application form to the registrations department so that we can upgrade you. And that is because in terms of the Act and regulations, we cannot do that without an application. So the system had to be changed to accommodate the new requirements. Okay, some important sections of the Act for those of you who don't know them, and they're ones that particularly those who do administration for their firms, for their agencies, for their employees. These are the kinds of things that you need to know. You need to look at Section 1, which is the definition Look under property practitioner and you will find the definition of what a property practitioner is. Section 4 is the one that deals with exemptions so that you can be aware of what the processes are. Section 23 is very important. It deals with auditors and accountants, under what circumstances you need to have an auditor and what circumstances you don't. Section 26 deals with compliance notices, which is a new development under the PPA. This is where there is a minor contravention of some sort identified by the PPRA enforcement department or the compliance department after an inspection, and they can issue a notice requiring you to rectify the status quo within a certain period of time and imposing a fine. If you don't act in terms of the compliance notice, there are various consequences, including that you may then be referred to the enforcement department, who will then issue summons and you will have to undergo a disciplinary procedure. Section 28 deals with complaints and disputes. And this is complaints against estate agents, property practitioners, disputes between property practitioners relating to commission and how you can have assistance with that. Section 47 and 48 deal with FFCs, how they are issued, what you have to do to get a Fidelity Fund certificate. And section 50 to 52 is very important. It deals with anybody who is disqualified from holding a Fidelity Fund certificate. And it's important to note, ladies and gentlemen, that section 50, subsection A, subsection 6, disqualifies anybody who is an unrehabilitated insolvent from getting a Fidelity Fund certificate. This is one of the things that we specifically ask in our application form. And you make a declaration there as to whether you have, whether you are an unrehabilitated insolvent or not. We have a large number of people who tick that they are not an unrehabilitated insolvent, and it comes to our attention afterwards that they are. When that happens, the Fidelity Fund certificate lapses automatically, and it is a criminal offence because it is fraud, and so we will lay charges against that person at the SAPS, and a fraud docket will be opened against those people. So please be careful to ensure that when you do that declaration and you sign it, that you make sure that it's correct. Section 53 deals with the display of your FFC and what you have to do in that regard. Section 54, very important, is trust accounts and what a property practitioner has to do who is a firm owner, a principal or a director of a firm, what they have to do when they close their firm or when they want to stop operating that firm. And it relates to the winding up of the trust account and the deregistration of the firm, which is compulsory. Section 55 deals with accounting records. It gives you a very good idea of what you have to do in relation to keeping proper accounting records for your business accounts, as well as what you need to do for a trust account. Section 56 deals with under what circumstances you have no right to commission, and it deals with the Fidelity Fund certificate requirement, which had to be valid at the time that the property practitioner activities were performed for you to receive commission, and it requires attorneys to ensure that they do not pay out commission to anybody until they have the valid Fidelity Fund certificate of the property practitioner. And the regulations actually require the firm's valid FFC as well. Section 58 deals with other service providers and your relationship with them and what you can and can't do in that regard. Section 63 sets out undesirable business practices, which we should be aware of. And then under the regulations, there are a couple of very important regulations. Regulation 2 deals with exemptions and particularly trust account exemptions. Regulation 15 deals with FFC fees. Regulation 20 to 26 deals with your FFCs, its formats, deadlines, penalties, amendments, and the updating of details. Bear in mind, please, that these are legislated requirements, okay? It's not something that we choose to impose or don't choose to impose. It's legislated by the Ministry of Human Settlements and by Parliament. So we have no authority to change, defer, or or alter any of these without the Act or regulations being changed, or without it giving us the specific right to do so. Regulation 31 deals with deregistration. That's allied to Regulation 54, or Section 54 rather. Regulation 34 deals with the Code of Conduct, and that's something that everybody should know about. Regulation 38 is what defines fines and contraventions, and Regulation 4122 to 41 deals with registration and Fidelity Fund Certificate administration. So do, when you have a moment, try and work through some of those sections and regulations so that you are informed and don't, by error, fall into some sort of difficulty. Right, let's look at the new registrations portal. And this is the registration of new agents. This is, first of all, currently you register as a new agent. And if you go onto the new portal, you will be able to register yourself as a new agent. You will be able to generate a PIN number and you'll be able to submit an application. So the process is to go to the practitioner's portal on the website. This is the existing portal which we have on the website. And when you go to that portal and click on new practitioner, it will take you to the new registrations portal. You click register and you will first be able to generate a 7-digit PIN. You find the industry that you want, you enter your details, you upload the documents via the system, including your employment letter, that should be your ID, not IT, ID, your employment letter, you create a password and you submit it. Currently, because the system is still being phased in, we receive that email, we receive that 7-digit request, you receive an email stating that the matter is under review, and we will send you the 7-digit reference. As soon as you have your 7-digit reference, you can apply online, you log in using that number, you submit an application, you complete the digital application form, and you upload your required documents, and you submit them. Your status will then show, and it will change as we process those. Now, please note that this is the current position while we're phasing in, and we are still in the process of integration of the system with our current SAP system. So after integration has happened, which we expect to be within the next 6 to 8 weeks, your 7-digit PIN will create automatically. As you go on, you request a 7-digit PIN, you'll get one straight away. Your application will then be available for you to submit immediately. After you complete your application, upload your documents, we will then receive it. We have to check it and we verify that, and your FFC, once we've done that, your FFC will show on the portal and be available for download. Your renewals of FFCs will also be available, excuse me, after integration. At the moment, we're not doing renewals. We're only doing new applications. Phase 2 will allow for re-registration, upgrades, employment changes, queries, questions, status changes, and FFCs will be available online at phase 2. Excuse me. Right, your registration requirements, very briefly, you've seen these slides, they are on our website. We've sent them out to everybody when they first came in, but just to briefly look at them, your non-estate agents do a firm registration by the director. These are the documents they have to upload. Your individuals, your directors register themselves individually with their ID documents, their E1 form and the proof of payment. The employees do the same registration. All of this can be done through the portal. Your registration of estate agent property practitioners is the same. In principles, register their firm and themselves individually. The same process as for non-estate agents. These are the documents that they submit, and candidates submit your letter of employment signed by the director and employee, stating the reference number of the director and the firm. And this is why on the portal you generate your 7-digit number first, so that when you need to submit your letter of employment with all that information on it for your application, you can do so. And you upload your proof of payment of your registration fee. So some general changes relating to FFCs. Obviously, the format of your FFC has changed. You will have seen that. It no longer has your employer on it. It also doesn't have your status on it. And that is in terms of the new legislation. We've talked about your FFCs not being issued for upgrades and employment changes. The admin fees are now applicable in order to cover the costs for those FFCs and services which no longer attract a fee, which they did under the old Act. You now must request upgrades. Please remember, not just, it doesn't happen automatically with an education update. The time periods for issuing of Fidelity Fund certificates are set out in the regulations. It is 30 working days from the time that we receive a fully compliant application. Floating FFCs we've talked about, and the renewal of firms separately to your practitioner. Section 4 exemptions, just to finish off with this. Section 4 exemptions at the ppra.org.za is where you send general exemptions, where you want to be exempted from any particular provision of the Property Practitioner Act. Exemptions at the PPRA is where you send equivalency exemptions to the Education Department. And the audit email address is where you send applications by way of a special affidavit, which you'll find under Regulation 2, to ask for an exemption from your trust account requirements of Section 54. Okay, there's some other names. Registration escalation is Vukani and Lerato. Some of the things which we ask you not to do, if you send an inquiry without a PIN, we're not going to be able to help you. We ask you not to copy the EM and the CEO until you've escalated initially to Vukani or Lerato, and then come to us. We talked about the new website. Please have a look at it, read the notices that we've put up there. It doesn't help to send emails to multiple people, because chances are everybody thinks the other one is going to look at it and they ignore it. And a lot of those kinds of emails go to the wrong places in any event. So please send it to the correct person. And if you send an email 15 times a week, it just takes 15 times longer to get to your email. We talked about the 30 working day turnaround time for FFCs. Accuracy and clarity, please. If we have an incorrect application form with incorrect details, it's going to delay the matter. As I've said, we're a creature of statute. We can't do anything which the Act doesn't allow us to do. Yeah, please, very important, report any corrupt activities that you become aware of. Thank you very much. Just a couple of minutes for questions, but I hope that that's been helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Advocate Vile, for that. We're not going to waste time. We're going to allow Ms. Poppy Kweyama to share her presentation and take us through the role of NCC objectives and, some of the disclosure forms and, detailed supplier information that we need to know. Ms. Kweyama, you may flag.
All right. Thank you so much, Naledi. Thank you so much, Advocate, to the beautiful presentation. I just want to switch off this, yeah, because there's going to be a whole lot of things coming through. I believe that we can see my slides.
Yes, we can see them.
Okay. Once again, good morning, colleagues, practitioners. So my name is Poppy Kweyama. As mentioned, I am from the National Consumer Commission. Just to take you through the background. Please pardon the pop-ups. You're going to have to bear with me. The NCC is established in terms of the Consumer Protection Act of 2008. The NCC itself opened its doors on the 1st of April 2011. And the Consumer Protection Act, the CPA, gives concurrent jurisdiction between the NCC and the provincial consumer protection offices. These consumer protection offices are usually housed in all the 9 provinces have such offices, and they're usually housed in the Department of Economic Development, depending on the setup of the province. Some provinces have a setup where it will be Department of Economic Development, Tourism, and so on and so forth. But usually it's in the Department of Economic Development. And also the Act provides us to have cooperation with sector regulators. And we have also created we create ombud schemes. So far we have 2 that we have created: the Motor Industry of South Africa, MIOSA, and the Consumer Goods and Services Ombuds, CGSO. The sector regulators, for an example, is what we are currently doing today with the PPRA. It's a sector regulator that the Act empowers us to have a relationship with. The Consumer Protection Act enshrines 8 consumer rights that we should all be aware of. All of us sitting around this meeting, we are consumers of others' products or services one way or the other. So everybody has a right to privacy. We have a right to choose, the right to disclosure of information, the right to fair and responsible marketing, which deals with the direct marketing that I know it has raised some interest, the right to fair and honest dealing, the right to just and responsible terms and conditions, the right to safety and good quality, and the right to equality. So those are the basic rights that are enshrined in the Constitution. What the legislation that establishes NCC seeks to do, we are seeking to promote a fair, accessible, and sustainable marketplace for consumers and products. And we promote responsible consumer behavior, promote consistent legislative enforcement framework relating to consumer transactions and agreements, which is somehow related to your space where you have transactions relating to transactions and agreements. We establish norms and standards to consumer protection. We prohibit certain unfair marketing and business practices. Like I'll make an example of there are times allocated for direct marketing, but we have seen that we sometimes get calls at very awkward times outside the prescribed times. Basically, the NCC's role is we initiate complaints or we receive complaints from consumers. So those are the 2 ways how the complaints get to us. Upon receiving the complaints, we investigate the complaints, and subject to the outcome of that complaint, we would either issue a compliance notice or we will negotiate a settlement. Then we also do consent orders if there's an agreement between the 2 parties. If there is a need for us to litigate on the complaint that has been lodged, we either refer the matter to the consumer tribunal or we refer to the competent court, any court that can hear the consumer issue. These are done free of charge to the consumers, and we facilitate the accreditation of industry codes and ombud schemes. Any industry, if it's in the process, if it's to protect the consumers, you can ask to be accredited and be recognized as such as an industry that is representing that code. So here there is a process that needs to be followed. It is specified in the legislation. The sector regulators that I have already spoken to that are enshrined in the legislation, they are also creatures of their own statutes. You will just notice from the previous presentation that there was a slide that really that highlighted the sections that you needed to be aware of as practitioners. So in addition to what the enabling legislation of that regulator does, there's also Consumer Protection Act that also needs to be adhered to. And we have a common purpose of implementing coherent, transparent, and predictable solutions. Hence, we have this webinar. We are working in collaboration to ensure that we service you better and do what our mandates, respective mandates, requires us to do. Same with the ombud schemes. Ombud schemes are basically created as a alternative dispute resolution. Before the matter can even reach to the point of where there is a need for litigation and all those things. We have facilities such as ombud schemes for ADR. Why am I stuck? Please bear with me. I'm stuck here. I can't move. Let me just stop sharing and
Okay,
come
we share
back.
again. Okay.
Yes, let's see. Why am I stuck? Yes. At the best of times, then technology decides to play games. Yeah. Okay, let's just escape here. Naledi, I'm on slide number 6. I'm not sure if
It's not showing on our side. If you remove it,
yes,
please
now
look again.
yes, let's just see if I've just moved and see if we can see my screen. Yes, I suppose now we can.
Yes.
All right, and then who is a supplier? A supplier means a person who promotes and supplies any goods and service. So whether you are a property practitioner or whoever you are deemed in terms of the CPA as a supplier. And when we talk about promotion, we talk about adverts, displays, or offers to supply any goods and services during the course of the business to public for consideration. You make any representation to ordinary course of business that could reasonably infer to supply of goods and services and engage in any conduct that a business should engage in. That is, you are a supplier. Supply means in relation to goods and services, including selling or renting or exchanging, hiring, and so on and so forth. That is just by definition of a supplier. I'm not going to go into details of the complaints resolution process, but if you remember in my previous slide, I did indicate that the CPA gives us concurrent jurisdiction with the provinces and also the regulators, sector regulators. So if the complainant is in the same province with the supplier and the consumer are in the same province, that matter will be heard by the provincial office, the competent provincial office. But if the supplier is in one province and the consumer is in another province, that matter usually would come to the National Consumer Commission, assuming that that matter it's a matter that has also gone through the ADR. If the matter did not go, if it has gone through the ADR, it will also be referred to us, subject to what the issue is at. Then the NCC will investigate, and then we're at the investigation level. We can either resolve the issue, or we can table it, to process it further to be heard at a competent court. So this is basically the outcome. I mean, the process that if now the escalation process, if the complaint has not been issued. The role of a business, it's basically a business must be committed to resolve complaints in-house. That is the first point of contact between you and the client. We are encouraging that you first start there by trying to resolve whatever it is. And I've noticed that the PPA as well also has requirements. I think I saw a section that has the requirements of what must be displayed. So in terms also of at a business point, we are also expecting the business to have a visible complaint desk where complaints can be lodged in-house, that is at the business level, and have a clear and simple process of lodging the complaint. It is very important that such is done in a language that is clear, in a language that is understood by most people in the area. And the business would commit in their complaints management process to deal with expeditiously with the complaint. Perhaps you would indicate in that process that it will take about 7 or whatever days time period, but it must be reflected to ensure so that the consumer is aware that when this time comes, then there's an option of escalation. I did indicate that there is, in terms of one of the rights, we have the right to privacy. And this is this is now when it comes to direct marketing, there are restricted and times where consumers can be approached during the week between 8 and 8, 8 in the morning and 8 in the evening, Saturdays between 8 and 1, and on Sundays and public holidays, we should not be receiving the direct marketing that we have been receiving at times. The consumer, we have established an opt-out registry that has been facilitated by the promulgation of regulations 4. That is Section 11 of our Consumer Protection Act. Basically, the register it's where it's going to where the suppliers would register as direct marketers, and the consumer would register to either opt in or opt out. In the register, the consumer will indicate in the register what they want to opt out from, or which mode they want to opt out from. It can either be SMS, WhatsApp, email, calls, all of the above, or some of the above. It's basically up to the consumer what they want to opt out from and which industries they would want to opt out from. And at any given point in time, the consumer can opt back to the services of those that they have opted out from. The direct marketers must implement systems to receive a list of consumers who recorded a preemptive block at no cost to the consumer. So basically what we're talking about here is that once the consumer has registered on our system, you need to allow us about 30 days to clean the list or to process that. And then the direct marketers would receive that list, and then they will dedupe the list or cleanse the list. When they from the list, when they cleanse their list, the consumers that have opted out should not be contacted. If it happens that the consumer would still be contacted after they have indicated that they don't want to be contacted, that is a contravention of the act. And we now move to the disclosure or the disclosure of information. As I indicated that when we spoke about the processes of complaints handling, the information must be in plain and understandable language. We have 11 official languages, 12 with Braille. So any of the recognized official languages or a combination of those languages, that is what the information should be. If there's a price to be if that there is a price, that price should be displayed at and it must reflect the supplier's full name, the transaction date, the address, and we're basically talking about receipts here. I'm not sure if you have been to places where you find receipts written in foreign languages. It has happened. We have come across such that you would find that receipts are written in Mandarin. We don't speak Mandarin in South Africa, but it is what it is. We find such things as when we do our investigations. The consumer has got a right to receive quotations from businesses, and such quotations should be provided free of charge unless the supplier has disclosed upfront that there would be a charge. If a consumer is requesting a quotation and you do not indicate that you're going to charge them, then when you send the quotation, you charge them, that is not allowed, because it should have been set up front so that the consumer can make an informed decision of whether they want to continue receiving that quotation. Remember, quotation is just but a quotation. Doesn't necessarily mean that the consumer is going to opt to use your services. So it is just efforts from your side. Do you want to be paid for those efforts? Then you must say it upfront. And the consumer must agree to pay that fee and authorize here if now we're talking about if there's something that needs to be repaired or refunded. Yeah. So our act gives us penalties for non-compliance. If we refer to the section that authorizes us to refer to any competent court or a tribunal, it's section 76, and then the order will be issued against the supplier, and there will be an award to whatever that is being found for the supplier to have contravened, and then the administrative fine will be issued. Administrative fine, we have two options when we issue the administrative fine, depending on the turnover of the organization. And during the year during the period or the year when the contravention happened, if your turnover is more than 1 million, we will take 10%, we'll opt for the 10% of the annual turnover of that period. If you are a small business and your 10% is going to be way too much, we would get an administrative fine of 1 million. This is really determined not by the NCC. This is determined now at the tribunal or at the court, subject to what the issue was in the first place. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ospopi. Okay, we're going to go to the questions. I'm going to go straight into the chats, and those who are raising your hands, I'll give you access so that you can engage our speakers. Paul says, Advocate Vile, there's a question on the chat. When are we going to address the 2026 FFCs? That should be 2027. Let me see if she is still here. Okay.
Okay, we've had some of those sent back to us with queries. We have rectified some of them. If you have an issue with one that was issued incorrectly, then yeah, please send them to us, either via registrations at the moment, or alternatively, you can send them to me or to Vukani, and we'll address them.
Thank you, Advocate, for that. And also, because of Thokozani and Busani, they are in the meeting. They saw all of your text messages, but I don't know, Thokozani, are you taking them and dealing with them on the side? Because I don't see the replies on the chat that we are replying to them. So you find that, but other questions, I will raise them so that Advocate maybe can give clarity. But the ones where you are saying you submitted application, Thokozani, Busani, I see Sizakele, Lerato, they're in the meeting. They are going to assist. I'm going to give Diana access to the mic. You can unmute and ask your questions to our speakers. Please unmute. I gave you access. Diana, okay, let's go to RSV. Please unmute. RSV, please unmute. Okay, not winning. Let's go to Lufuno. Okay, let me go back to the chat. I will come back to the hands. Let's see if we have a question on the Q&A. Maybe it could be an issue of network. I have Linda on the Q&A space. She says, I need to know, powered by companies, do they need to register at the PPRA? Say I work for a company, but starting my own brand. Must I register my new brand? Or can I just work under another company powered by? Linda, so I don't know, the question is related to what Bobby was presenting on suppliers. Do you want to take that one?
No, it's for us, Naledi. It relates
Okay,
to property
Advocate.
practitioners, I think. Thank you very much for that question. Okay, please note that there is no such thing as powered by. It is illegal, and we will charge anybody who is registered, who is operating under a firm in their own name and is calling it powered by a registered firm. Okay, that is not permitted at all by the PPA. You have to register. You cannot operate your own firm if you are not a principal, if you're an estate agent. Okay. First thing you have to do is qualify, do your candidacy, qualify as a full status agent, pass the required board exam to be a principal, and then you can register yourself as a principal and you can operate under your own brand. You can't do so in any other way. Powered by is not authorized by the Act, it's not authorized by the regulations, and it doesn't exist in any of the regulated requirements. So if you call yourself powered by, you are going to get a disciplinary notice and you are going to have to come and explain. And bear in mind that we can take away your FFC, we can do all sorts of things if the adjudicator decides that that's what's needed. All right. So if you are operating under a firm, you operate in the name of that firm. You don't operate under any other name. Otherwise, it is a contravention, okay, of the Act and the regulations.
Thank you, Advocate, for that. RSV, please unmute yourself. Okay. Reds Properties, please unmute. Okay, not winning. Andrew.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning, Debbie. Thanks for the presentation, and good morning to everybody who has presented. I hope you can hear me. But I wanted to come back to a few factors concerning the FFC. I am sorry, my internet was very bad. It was on and off, but I managed to hear, I think, 30% of your presentation. What I heard was the FFC doesn't have the company name anymore, and it doesn't have the status. If I am like a candidate practitioner, is no longer showing that I am a candidate. With our industry as the PPRA, we always had issues with illegal agents. Most of them would come in for a short while and go, and they would still practice. That was the main problem which we had. And now we are having an FFC which does not have a company, and um, and your status. Are we not going to have more problems because of this? I am sure it is made for a good cause, but I wish you could re-look on this. Except even besides the illegal candidates or the illegal practitioners, we also it was also a good measure for the principals, for us to know if there are any things which are happening behind their backs, because the company name would be there on the FFC. So the clients which the PPRA is protecting, for now anyone can flash their FFC and still practice even if they are no longer in the business. So with us as principals, it was also a control measure where we would help the clients who are out there, where issues we quickly pick them up. But for now, I see it as a gray area where we are going to have more problems. And with the length as well of the FFC now, it is going to run for 3 years. So someone can come in and basically live and still practice whilst they still have their FFC for 3 years, and messing up the PPRA as the regulator. That is my take, and thank you so much for taking my query. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I agree with you 100% that the FFC is not ideal. Unfortunately, we can't change it. It's legislated, it's part of the regulations, and we don't have the option to change it. So we have asked the ministry to please consider amending the regulations, and it's one of the changes we've asked for. But the reason for it is because of Regulation 4122, which I read to you in my presentation. That's the regulation which says that you can operate in any status under any firm using one FFC. So if, for example, you're a principal of 3 firms and we put one firm details on it, then it's going to look as if you can only operate under that firm. So that's why they changed it, to accommodate that. And that was a request that came from the industry, to get one FFC only, so you don't have to pay for multiple FFCs for yourself. So that's what they did. But the upshot of it is that you get an FFC which tells you nothing. And I agree with you, it is a problem. But that's the reason for it. The 3-year FFC, that was another request of the industry. It does have a problem because it means that the FFC is out there, and we have to go through the requirements of the Act and regulations to be able to withdraw it. If it lapses, it does lapse automatically, and we will then advise you that it's lapsed by operation of law because you've done certain things or you haven't done certain things. But the problem is that the FFC is still out there, and it's difficult for us to control it for 3 years once it's out there. So I agree 100% with your concerns. Unfortunately, at the moment, they're outside our control.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Linda. Oh, sorry, Louis.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, thank you so much. I have 3 questions, please, regarding the new FFC registration system. The one is regarding the applications that we've already requested. Some of the applications we requested before the system actually went live, and we're still waiting for FFC 7-digit reference numbers. Is there any way that those can be dealt with in the meantime until the system integration takes place in the next 6 or 8 weeks? Or must we just wait for... Okay, yes, I'm listening.
Yeah, no, we are doing those right now. We would have done them a lot sooner. The difficulty we had was that there was a glitch with the access to the system, which we didn't expect. The developers had to relook at something, and they've ironed that out. And I think for the last week, we've been accessing those. So we are getting 7-digit numbers out as fast as possible. And your applications, you can then submit as soon as you've got your 7-digit number, and we'll look at those in the interim as well. That's why we are doing it manually now. After the integration, then you will go on, ask for a 7-digit number, and it'll create it straight away. Well, you won't have to wait for us.
Okay,
you will
so
have to wait for us with the application. But for the moment, we are doing it manually, and we're doing it as quickly as possible. We've got extra staff doing that.
okay, no, that's great. So the new applications that I need now, I've submitted 8 online via email. So
Yes.
via email, and I've submitted 8 online on the new FSC system, but I've
Right.
had no response on either.
Okay, I'll check up for that. Can you give me the your email address?
Certainly, it's admin, EAAB, ADMINEAAB at wakefields.coza.
Wakefields. Okay, I'll ask them to check up on those and see if we can expedite them for you.
I'd appreciate. Thanks so very much. I've got another 2 questions. The one
Yes.
is in connection with this, where estate agencies assist new practitioners in handling the whole registration process. So this
Right.
new system appears to be designed for the direct use by the individual practitioner. So how must those companies now handle the new process in terms of wanting to assist the new practitioners?
Okay, we do it so that the practitioners have to do it themselves for a reason, because they make certain undertakings and they have to, declarations and that kind of things, and nobody else can actually do that for them. So it's something they have to do themselves. And you will get, for example, a request for a PIN, which gets sent to your phone. If they want to
Yes.
authorize you to put your phone number in as the authorizing party, that's up to them. But unless you arrange something like that with them, they have to do it themselves.
Okay, thank you. And then the FFCMS practitioner's user guide on the downloads, it's not pulling through yet. Is there any way that we could be sent a copy of that user guide in the meantime?
Yes, certainly. I can get that sent to you. You said
To
it's not showing yet, the user guide?
No, it's showing in terms of downloading, but once I download, it says site not available. So it's not giving me the
So it's not
user
giving you a
guide.
download. Okay, I
No,
must
it's
check
not.
up on
Yeah.
that. Thanks for telling me that. We'll see why
Lovely.
that is and see what they can and do. And then you want us to send you
To the same email
send that
address.
as well. Okay.
Yes.
Bessie
Brilliant.
and
Thanks so
TK,
very much.
yeah, if you'd please make a note of that for admin EAAB at wakefields.co.za and check if we can issue some of those 7-digit numbers, please, as well as
I'd
issue
really-
a guide, a copy of the guide to that stakeholder. And then we'll just make a note and ask Lorato and Vukani, please, to follow up on the question of the download of the guide, why that's not happening.
Brilliant.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so
Okay,
very much.
thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Yeah, Lerato is in the meeting, so she even confirmed the ones who are on the chat, they are working on them in the background, hence I'm focusing on the questions with the hands. Linda?
Hi, good morning, Advocate Val. So I have 3 issues to which I'm hoping you can answer. The 7-digit PIN, which we have applied for online, which I did on the 24th of June, is that being processed manually, or do I have to do the resubmission manually to get the 7-digit code? Is the one
You said
question.
you asked for it via email?
No, I did it through your application system, your online system,
Okay.
and everything is in there. So my
Right.
question is, do I have to resubmit it manually, or are
No.
they pulling those through?
Yeah,
Because
no, they are pulling those through. Yeah, you don't need to
Okay.
resubmit it manually. They're pulling those through straight off the system, and they are and they're sending the email to you also via the system.
Okay, and how long, I mean, what is the timeline? We're talking about the 24th of June, and it's now the 14th of July.
Yeah, okay. So as I said, there was a difficulty in us getting access to the portal to actually deal with these because of an IT problem, as I explained. So for the first 2 weeks, we actually couldn't get onto them to work on them. Now we are able to work on them, so we're working on them as fast as possible. We've put extra people onto it, and yeah, I'm quite sure that within the next 2 to 3 weeks we'll be able to get everybody's applications out.
Okay, so the new one that I have, is it better to just send it through manually than to go through that whole palaver of your system, only to have to wait equally long?
I would suggest that you do it through the system, because it's going to be much faster through the system now going forward, now that we have access to actually operate on it.
Okay.
So we've got a lot of staff doing that. So you're more likely to have assistance via the portal than you are via emails.
Okay, so the issue that we are finding the most commonly happening at the moment is that companies, when agents are moving from one company to another, in a lot of cases, they need to give a month's notice, which is perfectly legal and perfectly fine. However, before they are able to do a company change to join the new company that they are going to, the company that they are leaving is deregistering them, which is leaving them with a situation where they have literally got a brand new FFC, and now because they have been deregistered before they have had the opportunity to do a company change, they are being forced to pay for another FFC. Surely this cannot be right, based on the fact that your FFCs are structured the way that they are.
Okay, so there are a couple of reasons for this, and this is something that shouldn't happen. If you've got an employer who's deregistering you with us when you're still employed there, I mean, that's something that you need to take up with your employer. Your employer can't be doing that. You are still working for them. They can't deregister you while you're still working for them. And bear in mind, if an employer says to us, this person is no longer working for me, and that person hasn't submitted an application to move, then we presume they're not working anymore, and we have to deregister them. Bear in mind also that the regulations say that if there's a change in the information that you gave us when you applied for your FFC, you have to tell us within 14 days. So what we do is, if we get a notice from an employer to say, this person's left my work, left my employment, we wait 14 days to see if you submit an application. If you do, we don't deregister you in that period, and we simply do an employment change. If you don't, within the statutory 14 days, we are obliged to deregister you. So either speak to your employer and say, please don't be stupid and deregister me when I'm still employed here. Please just give me 2 weeks after I leave to be able to apply. Alternatively, if they won't, send us an employment change as soon as you resign, and say, this is the date I'm moving, this is the date I want my new employment to start, and then we can do it without deregistering you. So either of those should work.
Okay. So, yeah, that sounds great in an ideal world. Unfortunately, that's not what is happening. So, okay, so the third issue is the powered by. So EXP were harshly dealt with in December, in fact, last year, and were instructed that literally in 1 week, they were to remove all reference to powered by, which they did. And the only consolation for the agents to whom it happened was that we were told it was going to happen throughout the entire industry. But that is not what has happened. We have unbelievable a number of agents that are running powered by company corporations, literally, under their own names, powered by companies.
Powered by who?
Powered by whoever the real estate company real estate services, mandated services, KW, you name it.
That's what
they
I
are
want to
all
know.
doing it.
I need names of who they are. We have in fact issued that instruction to a number of different industries. Okay. A number of different entities. There were a number that we were aware of. If we don't know about them, and we don't have somebody who comes and says to us, this is who's doing it and here's the proof,
fine.
Then we don't know.
I'll send them to you, because I have to say that from our agent's point of view, it was like, okay, so there's definitely two sets of rules here, and
No, there's not two sets of rules. The problem is
Okay.
an enforcement problem. Okay,
Okay.
we have to enforce this thing across the board. And when
Yeah.
we find out about it, obviously the people who we find out about first are the ones who get nailed first. Everybody else gets nailed in due course.
Okay.
And we certainly will, because this was always, you know, it was always contrary to the Act. Whoever developed it, it was
we fully
completely contrary to the old or the new
Okay,
Act.
Linda.
Yeah, we fully understood it. And when you think about it logically, it does make sense. It was just the enforcement that for us appeared to be incredibly unfair.
Yeah,
Thank
you need
you.
to tell us who they are, and we're happy to do exactly what we need to do, what we did with you.
Okay, all right, colleagues, because we have 15 hands, I want to allow everyone to ask their questions so that, you know, we don't disadvantage anyone. And maybe if we can keep to a minute your questions quickly. And on the chat, if you put your query, put your email address as well, so the team can be able to communicate with you even after the webinar to give you feedback and update on your application. Can we go to Martha? Please unmute and ask.
Good day, everyone. Good day, industry captains.
Yes.
I think my questions have been addressed. I had 2 questions. However, I would still like to find out what is the process for deregistering or removing an agent from the company when they resign or when they're dismissed. What is the process?
Okay, if you're losing an employee, you need to apply to us via the registration's mailbox to say, this is who we are, this is our PIN number, our firm PIN number. Give us the principal's PIN number, and then the agent that whose employment has been terminated, and the agent's PIN number. You send it to us through that inbox, and we will wait 14 days as required by the Act, and then we will deregister them from your firm.
Okay, then, so does it mean I need to email the registration? You mentioned something like a registration, what box? Oh,
the registrations mailbox, where you send all of us registrations at the ppra.org.za.
Oh, okay then. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think most of my questions have already been covered.
Thank you. Liz,
Thank you.
Please unmute, Liz.
Hi, Naledi. Thank you for the opportunity. Naledi, I have a question about the property condition report. May I continue?
Yes, you can ask. Is the question for NCC or PPRA?
I think PPRA, I'm not quite sure. All right, so the question is, when we do the property disclosure report, should the sellers sign at listing stage, or can they actually sign at OTP stage?
Okay, I'll allow advocate first.
Sorry, you talk about the mandatory disclosure agreement?
Yes, that's correct.
That's got to be signed on mandate, on receipt of mandate, the registration, the regulations and the Act say that.
All right, so that means actually at listing stage, am I correct?
Correct, yeah.
Thanks, I appreciate.
Liz, I think you missed the webinar we had last week, Tuesday. We were discussing mandatory disclosure forms with the department. They went in detail. The webinar is on YouTube. Maybe you can look at it. Dineo was explaining it thoroughly. Let's go to Jabulani. Please unmute. Jabulani. Okay, let's go to Adele. Please unmute. Adele. Okay, Maide. Maide. Colleagues, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Please unmute Maide and ask.
Good morning. Thanks very much, Naledi. I have 3 questions. I think they are all for the PPRA. The first one is, we didn't quite understand the floating FFC well, and I'm kindly asking Advocate Deborah to explain that to us. And then secondly, the online portal, we had technical problems, and when we started, I think we missed a few steps there. Advocate, if you don't mind, if you can just take us through the steps where we have to ask for the 7-digit number before we proceed with the rest of the application. Please, I'm sitting here with quite a few new agents. They've come specifically for this, and I think we missed a few steps. We don't want to take your time, but if we can summarize it for us so that for their benefit, because I heard you say that they have to do it themselves. So they're here. If you can just perhaps summarize those steps from where we start, where we're sending the email to request the 7-digit number, and what happens thereafter. And then but lastly, I think we have a few agents who have applied for the FFC previously, and we keep on sending follow-up emails to Lerato, to Bukani. We're not getting any feedback. Maybe if they're around, if they can please just tell us where we are in terms of those applications. One application was submitted last year in November, and up to now, we don't hear back from the PPRA. If they can please assist. Thank you, Advocate, if you can assist us with those 3. Thank you so much.
Okay, please put your email address as well as the PIN numbers of the agents whose FFCs you are waiting for in the chat, so that Busani and TK can assist you and respond to where they are and what happened to them, and why you haven't heard, or what, or whether they've sent something to a different address, or whatever the story is. As far as the floating FFC is concerned, your floating FFC is an FFC which has been brought in to replace your previous individual FFC which you received for each and every firm that you worked for. Okay, so if you're a principal and you have 3 firms, you had 3 individual FFCs under one under each firm. Now, if you are a principal and you have 3 firms, you will only have 1 FFC issued, which will be valid for all 3 firms. It will be a floating FFC that is not issued only for one firm. It applies to all the firms for the period that it is valid for. And that applies to all the firms that you are registered under. Now, the firms also themselves get a separate FFC for each firm. The other employees of the firms get their own FFC for themselves, which operates against whichever firm they are currently registered under. So that's basically your floating FFC. As far as the steps are concerned, if I can just look back at the slides quickly. Here we go. There's the new registrations portal. You probably won't be able to see it, but let me just tell you. I'm going to send these to you, so you'll find it on the slide, new registrations portal. And it tells you, first of all, that you go to the practitioners portal, which is on our website. When you go into it, you click on new practitioner, and that will take you to the new portal. Okay, you there pick up a 7-digit PIN request. So it asks you to either apply or it asks you to register. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose register, and you're then going to ask for your 7-digit PIN by attaching your ID and your employment letter, and you then create a password and you submit it. You will receive an email to say that it's under review, and we are now currently manually giving you those 7-digit numbers. So you will get them as soon as we can issue them. When the system is working properly, you will get it automatically from the system. As you ask for it, it will be generated and you will get it. As soon as you get your 7-digit PIN, you then go and you log in using your password. And when you log in, you then fill in the online application form, you upload your documents, and you hit submit, and the status will show at that stage of under review or pending or whatever. And as soon as the status changes as it goes along, and we will then issue you with that FFC as soon as that application has been dealt with by us. Okay, I think that's
Thank you.
Everything.
Busani Tokoza, thank you for trying there by the Q&A. I see you are interacting with the practitioners. Fiona, please unmute.
Hi, Deborah, how are you?
Hi, Fiona. Good in you.
I'm good, thanks. Deborah, I just have two questions about the new FFC Connect. Agents are complaining that when they register, the new portal is not accepting the firm PIN number. I have raised this in emails, but it hasn't been addressed as yet. So when you type in the firm PIN number, it says firm does not exist. That's the one thing. The other thing I want to know is that the new portal was only launched on the 15th of June.
Yes.
But I have submitted prior to the 15th of June quite a few applications for agents for 7 digits. When I questioned it with the registrations department, they're telling me no, they're not doing it manually. I must instruct the agents to now do it on the FFC, on the new portal. Is there any way that the applications that I submitted before the 15th of June can be prioritized?
Yes, yes, we can do that. Do you want to send me the 7-digit applications that you did, the details?
Yes,
so
I'll
that
send
I can
you
get them to look for it.
Sure, I'll send you a list with the name and the ID number.
Okay.
Because they were done well before the 15th of June.
Okay, perfect. Did you do it via the portal, your portal?
No, well, PropCert
No.
doesn't. No, PropCert doesn't
Just-
accept any applications without a 7-digit. I'm talking about
Okay,
requesting a
perfect.
7-digit from
So
the
it was by
PPRA.
email.
Yeah, by email.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right. Thank
Okay.
you. Yes,
All right.
absolutely, Fiona. I'll get onto that.
Thanks, Deborah. Thank you.
Okay, we will
Thank
wait for the
you.
list. Khodisho, please unmute. Khodisho. Okay, Percival. Percival, please unmute. If you don't unmute, I'm gonna move to the next person.
Good morning.
Okay.
Good morning. Can you hear me now, lady?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Once more, good morning, colleagues. Good morning, lady. Good morning, Advocate Deborah. Just
Good
a quick
morning.
one. It's more a clarity-seeking question. Remember, on the 12 industries that falls under the property practitioner, the traditional one as an estate agent, let me make reference to the estate agent one, was just to sell houses. But now my question, I want to take it further to say, what about the strategic properties? Example, the mine. That particular property, because it's, the transaction, because of the way it's so complex, it will never just require just for you to sell. Of course, there are a lot of other services that you will also be offering, including other service providers. One will be the facilitation, negotiation, and sometimes also the advisory. Now, what I wanted to find out from you, Advocate, is the industry estate agent versus against the property facilitator and intermediary. Are they not going to overlap with regard to this strategic property sale? Example, like I said, the mining, selling a mine. Because in this one, you will not just be limited to just selling, but of course, you will also be facilitating, negotiating, and advising while providing the property practitioner services. So please, I want us to check, perhaps maybe in future, are we not going to have a webinar whereby we will be going through all those industry of a property practitioner? Because on where I'm sitting, I'm just afraid that if I have to involve myself in that transaction, I wouldn't just be selling because it's a complex transaction. I will be doing certain other services in combining with the sale, including the facilitation. Am I not, or rather, are they not going to overlap as in an estate agent in this one with or against the property facilitator and intermediary? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. What the property facilitator or intermediary generally referred to was those people who, although they don't actually operate a selling or letting agency themselves, they do a sort of a spotting type function, what we used to call spotters in the old days. So they do more than simply selling a property. They go to somebody and they say to somebody, all right, do you want to sell your property? Or I have a client who is looking for a property. Are you interested in selling? Or are you interested in in any kind of commercial agreement which facilitates a sale either over a period of time or through different kinds of things. So as you say, it's more. So if you're actually doing an advisory type service to sellers and buyers, you don't get a mandate just from one person. Usually you get them from both people, from both parties. Then you're doing more than just selling, and then you will register in that industry. If, however, you are doing selling of a property, and what you do in the course of that selling is the normal kind of thing that you would do in selling a property, the normal services you would provide, like doing things like what do they call it? Credit checks, credit worthiness checks, or doing checks at the municipality for plans, or that kind of thing. That's part and parcel of selling. If you're doing that kind of thing, then those normal activities are part of your sale, your sale offering. If, however, you're doing a lot more and you're doing a different process entirely, it doesn't follow the same model, then you will register under that other entity. So we certainly will be doing those kinds of things. We are relying to a large extent on enforcement and compliance to come and tell us what they consider fits under each one and who has to register under each one. And it's something that has to be worked out for each and every one of those industries. Some of them are clear, some of them are less clear. So yeah, as soon as we're in a position to, we will come and do some webinars on each of the industries.
Hi, Naledi.
Okay. Yes, do you have a follow-up?
Yes, please, if you'll allow me.
Okay.
Now, advocate, will it be correct if I advertise my service as a property, as a rather estate agent, and saying that I'm doing the negotiations, facilitation, and in this case, I'm referring to the strategic property, facilitation, advisory, including not valuation, but a comparative market analysis and transaction coordination. Will that be correct if I advertise my services that way?
Yeah, well, those are generally services that an estate agent who sells property in a particular area or in a particular circumstances should be able to do. But send me an email, please, to my email address, setting out exactly what it is you want to do, and I will respond to it. So those who need my email address, Deborah.Vial, V-I-A-L, at thepra.org.za.
Okay, thank you very much.
Somebody can just put it in the chat.
Please, Annalise, mute yourself, number 6. Annalise, mute. I'll come back to you. Let's go to Pam. Please unmute.
Thank you so much, Naledi. Thank you, Advocate Val. I just want to thank both of you for this wonderful opportunity that you've given us today to listen to all of this very important information. I would actually like to suggest that this is made compulsory for all firms in this country, that they understand that they have somebody that they're representing the firm attending a compulsory training on these registration processes, because it isn't easy, it isn't simple, but it's something that we all have to do, and we have to do it properly because we have to comply. And as you know, they call me Mrs. Compliance. They used to at the EAB. So for me, compliance is absolutely number one when it comes to being a property practitioner. And we, in terms of the Act, and we act accordingly. So thank you to you for that, for giving us this information. I just have one quick question. My lady in the office, who is my compliance officer, or the office manager, she just sent me a quick message saying, Pam, please, I'm a little bit worried with this new registration process online. Will I still be able to register our new agents myself? Because she's taken that on herself, that when we do get new agents onboarding our firm, that we do it from our office. We do the registration, so to ensure that it's done properly and that we can follow up and that everything is done correctly. Now, the answer to her question, please, I'm just looking for that, is will she still be able to, from the office, register all our new agents, or do the agents have to do it from their own PCs?
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much for your comments. Yes, Pam, nice to speak to you again. And thank you very much for the question. The system is designed for the agent to do the actual registration themselves. And the reason for that is because they have to make certain declarations, which they declare to be true and correct. And they have to disclose certain things, which if they don't disclose, can constitute fraud. So that's why we designed it in that way. If the agent wants to sit with you and do it via your system or your portal or your laptop, or that's fine. That's no problem. Because we would usually we would require them to look for an OTP on their phone at the number which they have registered, and they would be able to proceed so that we know that it's them. If it's not, if they're not going to be with you, you would need to make some arrangement with them whereby they would allow you to register with your telephone number, and you get the details, and then you would have to change that number afterwards so that all the information goes directly to them. But I would be very careful to circumvent it without proper agreement from everybody. And also you'd need to warn your agents that they have to take responsibility for whatever is done in their name with the use of their PIN number. So so that's the situation. You could take it from there.
Thank you, Advocate, for that. Hendrik, please unmute. Hendrik, please unmute. Hendrik.
Hi, hello.
Yes, please ask.
I'm busy with a transaction with the Department of Rural Development, the government department. So they insist that my FFC shows my status and the agency. The deal will fall through if I do not provide them my FFC with those information. It's been since November, and the government is pressuring me for those FFCs. They say the FFC is incomplete. It doesn't say who I work for and what my status is and my qualifications.
Okay, well, I suggest you tell them to have a look at the regulations to the PPA, Act 22 of 2019, and refer them specifically to, I'll tell you now, regulation 22, 22.1. Tell them to look at regulation 22.1, which provides the format of what an FFC has to look like. If you need us to send an email to them or a letter to them, telling them that they're acting illegally, then we will do so.
Okay.
But they haven't bothered to do their homework and check the legislation. So so that we're not allowed to issue an FFC the way they want us to issue.
You know how governments work.
Yeah.
I'll be surprised.
Okay.
Tell me about it.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks,
Hendrik.
Thank you.
Mavis, please unmute. Mavis?
Hi, yes, afternoon. I'm not sure whether was this question answered because I needed some clarity on what maybe Percival was saying. But my question is, I saw the slides there, and then it says like the PPRA, it has like about 12 sectors, right? So I just want to find out if they say as a practitioner, you would have to have one FFC certificate. If maybe you are an estate agent and you happen also to be a developer and an auctioneer, can you have one certificate or do you have to apply for all of them separately?
I know that it's for all the sector. Advocate.
Please. I specifically said and it's in the slides as well. You have one floating FFC for all capacities and all firms within the same industry. Okay. I also put in the slide the regulation which refers to the fact that you have to have separate FFCs for each industry that you are registered under and that you operate in. Can I just ask everybody, please, if you are sending me emails, I would suggest that you send them, and except for Fiona, who I've asked to send, But if everybody else would please send to Lorato, she's likely to get to them before I do. I'm doing a lot of strategic stuff as well as everything else. So please send them there. And if you're sending multiple emails, please try and include a list in one email so that I can assign it to somebody to work on and they can do all of them. And I don't have to wade through a whole lot of emails from the same person. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate. Inga, please unmute and ask your question.
Good morning. Thank you so very much, colleagues and Advocate Deborah. I think my question is just purely on, I've been trying to get a valid FFC since March 2025, and my main question is just, who do I need to escalate it to? Because I've been emailing registration, Nenikazi, and Nahim Karim, as well as phoning every second day, and every day just gets escalated. So currently we do not have a valid FFC. We're wanting to move over to a new software system. One of the requirements of the bank is that we provide a valid FFC, and as such, everything is put on hold. And it's not that we haven't tried, and there is no person that is actually picking up the phone and having a conversation. I get an email, I respond, and then 3 weeks down the line, still there's no answers. And when I phone your number, the call center, they just tell me they can't help me, they can't put the call through to finance, they're going to escalate it. And as one wants to try and be compliant in all areas, you can understand the level of frustration that I'm facing, and probably everybody else, and I don't want to be treated any differently. I just need to know who I can speak to get this matter resolved.
Okay, just give me your firm's name.
It's Intersect Sectional Title Services.
INTER?
SECT.
Intersect Sectional Title Services. So is it a managing agency?
It's a managing agency, but we also need a real, so we've got a managing agent FFC, which is in order, but we do not have a real estate for our rentals division. And we're told that we need to have a real estate FFC for our rentals. So our company FFC number is F105575, and then myself as a director and my fellow director also does not have a valid FFC, even though we've completed all the forms, sent all proof of payments, explained the situation, but no one's getting back. And if something is missing, we need to know what it is so that we can move on from where this is now, more than a year and a half later.
Okay, can you just tell me what is your PIN number?
So my PIN number is 122. I put it in the chat here, so let me just try and get it for you again.
If it's in the chat, somebody will get it. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So you're looking for an estate agent FFC for the firm as well as for the principal and directors?
Correct. And then also in that request was that the company was bought by as an ongoing concern to new directors, right? So the existing directors need to be removed from the profile, and myself and my fellow director needs to be put onto the profile. But even that hasn't happened, and you will not believe.
Sorry, is it a current property practitioner that's currently registered with us?
Yes.
So it's
So I think it's a little bit more complicated, and maybe if someone can just tell me who I can contact, then I can explain the situation and we can work through it. So I don't expect it to be resolved because there's other questions as well. I just need to know who I can speak to.
Okay, put your telephone number and your name in the chat where you've got your PIN numbers, and Lorato, please will you contact the lady and give her the information she needs?
Lorato, her name is Inga Allen. I don't know, are you not around to come to our offices, Inga, maybe today, tomorrow? You sit with one of our consultants at the front desk.
Is that in Cape Town, in Sable Square?
We have an office in Cape Town as well.
So I've emailed your Cape Town office. I've asked for an appointment. I asked when I can come through, and no one's answered me.
Just walk in.
Yeah, let's perhaps let Lorato try and deal with it, because I have an idea that the Cape Town office might find it difficult if it's quite involved, which it obviously is, because you're going to have to change an entity, and that I think will have to be done up here. So Lorato, will you please assist here?
Okay, I see a question, David. Can I ask why invoices from
the PPRA?
Thank you, ma'am. David says, can I ask why invoices from the PPRA that I have received do not show what they are charging me for. I've been trying to renew my FFC since last year. Okay, usually the statement will show you if it's a penalty or a CPD. It must show the breakdown. I'll send it tomorrow, and Danny David, I'll send you the email address of debt recoveries. They'll send you a breakdown. They'll need your 7-digit reference number on that one. Let's go. Annalise, please unmute.
Hi, thank you so much, Naledi. I would just like to find out, we have received our firm and principals FFC last year, which was renewed, and some of our agents have received their FFCs, but I've got 3 agents which paid in October 2025 and to date still haven't received their FFCs. Where could I send that email to with their details to get a follow-up on that, please?
Okay, can one of you administrators please put Katlego or Katu's email address in the chat so that it can go to them and they can follow up on that, please.
Okay, perfect. And then would they be and then another thing, Deborah, would they be able to assist me for the company, a list of employees that's reflecting on our company portfolio so that we can make sure that all the employees that has left has been removed as well?
No, registrations has to do that, not renewals. Okay. So that would, you could send that to actually Busani or TK, will you just get some details on that from the chat and just give the information that's needed, please?
Thank you so much.
Okay, Naledi?
Oh, I'm muted. Sorry about that. Annalise, I've pinned the email address for registrations. If you can look at the chat, you will see the email address. It's pinned there. Let's go to Adele. Please unmute.
Thank you.
Adele? Okay, let's go to Mark. Mark? Adele, I saw your chat. I did reply to say you must unmute yourself on that side because I gave you access. Let's try Mark.
Hi, good day, ladies. It's Mark here. I just want to find out, we're sitting with the same situation where one of the agents unfortunately paid a registration fee with the ID number, but this is now dragging since 2025, and she did another 2 payments to get up to the right amount, but we're phoning, sending emails, but nobody can allocate the original amount which she made with the ID number.
Okay, so that's a finance problem, but we'll have to facilitate it through renewals. Can we put renewals, Katu or Katlego, their emails into the chat, please, and let's have you can send it to one of them. Yeah, please, administrators, please do that.
Yeah, we were informed that Sipu is a guy who must allocate the money, but yeah, we're sending mails months in and months out. But
yeah, that's finance. Yeah, we'll have to follow it up again with them. Okay, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Jabulani, please unmute.
Thank you so much, Sister Naledi. Hey, last time it was my internet just froze. And I'm sorry if this question maybe was covered. It's in connection with the 3-year validity of the FCC. Does it include the one issued last year in 2025? This new law?
Yes.
Okay, great. No, thank you so much. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you so much.
It'll be on your FFC. It will tell you your expiry date, which is if it was issued in 2025 for the 2025 year, it'll be value for 2025, 26, 27. If it was issued in late 2025 for the 26th year, then it'll be 26, 27, 28.
Okay, great. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Adrian?
Good morning, Naledi. Good morning, Deborah and colleagues. Thank you
Adrian.
for arranging this session. It's always very valuable. Could I make a suggestion that when we do a registrations webinar again, we have someone from the education department present? One of the problems that we are finding is that education is not upgrading the status of agents even where they request it. And what happens is they then apply for an FFC in their new status, and it comes on the portal still as candidate or intern. And that's simply because education hasn't upgraded. So that's the information that the registrations department get. And it affects, they seem to work in a silo. So it affects all areas of compliance at the PPRA. So in other words, these agents also know that they now have to be eligible for CPD, and they pay their CPD fees, but then they still look like they are interns. So I think we need to always have someone from education so they can address, why these problems are still occurring and why upgrades are not happening when they're supposed to happen. That's just my suggestion. Thank you for this
Adrian.
morning.
Yeah, thanks, Adrian. Maybe you can have an education webinar speaker next time, executive, and let her deal with some of the issues from education side.
Yes, we know that. Thank you, Adrian. Let's go to Christel. Please unmute.
Hi, good day. I just want to find out, we have got a company with 3 members. It's a CC company. 2 members are still active, but the 3rd member is staying abroad and is not active anymore, but we still need to pay for them. How do we, is there any exemption, or how can we get rid of her, from the PPRA, deregister?
Okay, the first thing that has to happen is you have to apply for an exemption for that member, to say that we are a member of the CC. In terms of the Act, we're supposed to have an FFC for her, but she's actually a non-executive member. She doesn't participate, blah, 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 and therefore can we please have an exemption? So you submit that application using the E1 form, which is found in the regulations, and you'll find it under regulation 41.21. It's also on the website. And you complete that E1 form, you add what the company, or the CC registration documents to show that she is an executive, or she's a member. You then also submit a resolution passed by the members, all the members, to confirm that she is not an active director in respect of the firm. She's actually a non-executive member. She's also somebody who doesn't have anything to do with the day-to-day operations of property practitioner activities, and she doesn't have oversight over any of the property practitioners who operate in the firm. And she then asks for that to pay 2,000, I don't know what the current rate is. Please, one of you put the amount in the chats. It was 2,000 Rand. I know it escalates annually by CPR according to the regulations. But you make that payment, you attach the proof of payment, and you submit that to Section 4 exemptions at the ppra.org.za. It's in my slide. And then they will be able to grant you a certificate, send you a certificate saying, yes, it's been approved. And once you've done that, you apply for the deregistration of that through the registrations department, ask for that agent to be deregistered, and you attach the certificate of exemption that has been granted to her. Make sure that she's not the principal, and you have a qualified principal who will continue to operate as the responsible person.
Okay, colleagues, we were supposed to finish at 12, and can we just take the last 3 hands, 12:15?
Excuse me, can I just ask one more question, lady?
We need to release the guest speakers from NCC. Okay, ask the last one, then I'll allow the last 3 questions, James Hendrik Pule, then we can close because they have other meetings to attend to. Yes, you can ask quickly.
Thank you. We have just registered as the managing agent, the managing agent already. And the members under the managing agents got the FFCs. Do they need to do the CPD points, everything as well?
Under the and as you registered as a managing agent in the managing agent industry.
That's correct. In the
No,
managing
managing
agent,
agents don't.
and then we've got the people working for them. Do they need to do the CPD points as well?
Not if they are working in and registered and have an FFC for managing agents. If they have one for estate agents, they have to do the estate agent one. Yes.
Okay.
But
Thank you very much.
Thank you. James, please unmute. James. Okay, Hendrik, please unmute. Hendrik. Hendrik, please unmute. Okay, I'm going to go to Pule. Pule, please unmute and ask your question.
Thank you very much, Naledi. I think
Oh, hold on, Pule. I think Hendrik managed. Sorry, Dr. Pule. Hendrik, please ask, and I'll take you last.
Yeah, I spoke earlier about the Department of Land Reform, the FFC. I'm struggling to get my FFC issued. That's the only thing that's outstanding to close the sale agreement. Is there any way that they can help me to issue my FFC urgently, please?
Yes, certainly. Please put your details in the chat. Lorato, please have a look at it and see whether is it a renewal or is it a new registration?
Yes, it's just a renewal.
A renewal. Okay, then
Yeah.
please can you just take details, send it to Katu or Katlego and tell them to please expedite.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, thank you for putting all your comments on the chat and the email address and reference number. It makes it easier for them to help you and give you feedback after. Pule, please ask your question.
Thank you very much, Naledi, and thank you very much, Deborah. My question, what if maybe I want to remove myself from a company when I was acting as the principal and I followed all the process, the protocols that I have to remove myself, but those directors, they don't want to sign? That's the first question. Then the second one, on the NCC, I was still allowed to do the cold callings and what I didn't understand about 1 million fine. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, let me answer the first one quickly and then you can move over to the other two, Poppy. Just as far as the first one is concerned, your deregistration as a principal has to follow the requirements of section 54, 9 to 14. So look at section 54 and you will see that you have to wind up the firm, you have to do close the trust account, provide us with a letter of proof of closure of the trust account, provide the audit, the winding up audit of the trust account, and submit a resolution of the directors. You cannot resign otherwise. You are the responsible person and you remain the responsible person until you've done all of that and or until another principal takes over from you, who is also a director of the company. So that's the legislated position.
Okay, can I follow up on that one? The problem, those directors, they don't want to sign the resolution.
Yeah, well, I can't help you with that, unfortunately.
Okay,
that's something you have to ensure that they do. If necessary, you'll have to take them to court and you'll have to get a declarative from the court. But it's not something that we can do for you.
Okay, thank you. Second question.
Please ask.
Thank
Second
you.
question. Can you answer the second question, please?
Yes, it's coming.
Yes, I'm answering the second question from the NCC. You've indicated that you are not sure what we're not clear about the 1 million issue is. The 1 million is an administrative fine or as a penalty for non-compliance. It's either the 10% of your annual turnover for the period preceding the year when the non-compliance happened, or the 1 million rand or the 1 million rand will specify the amount. So it depends on what the court rules out or the tribunal rules out as a penalty. This is determined from your bank statements. They would ask the bank statements and that determination would be made from there of your affordability. And then the issue regarding whether you can still be making calls. We have indicated that there are legislated times where you you need to, if there's something that you are promoting as a direct marketer, you would then have to call between the 8 to 8 during the week, and then over the weekends from 8 to 1, and then on Sundays and public holidays there should be no calls. But remember that we said that we will still have to announce the date when we are opening the system for suppliers or direct marketers to register, as well as the consumers to register. Then or for opt-out, then we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you very much. So now you say we're supposed to register so that we can market our business to the consumers. That's what you're saying?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so the process has opened already so that we can register?
It was not yet open. We will announce, we'll release a media statement when we are doing that. But we are envisaging to have a webinar on the 24th of July, just specifically on the opt-out registry itself. It will be hosted by the NCC. Thank you.
Okay, so for now we can continue to do the cold callings and marketing.
As long as you're doing it within the prescribed time periods, yes.
Thank you very much. Have a blessed day, everyone.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for that. Our speakers, they have other meetings they have to go to. We were supposed to close at 12, but we can see that there's still questions. You can email me the questions and I'll send them to the speakers. They will reply even after the webinar. And because of their mentioning there's going to be a webinar, when they share the flyer, I will share with you so that you can you can join the webinar with NCC. So all the queries that are on the chat and the Q&A, Thokozani, Busani, Lerato, they are still dealing with them. They will respond to you. The email of Advocate Vile is on the chat. The registration email address, it's pinned. The slides we will share via email. And the recorder we're going to post Thursday morning on PPRA TV. If you're not following us, please follow us on all the social media. We're going to have another webinar on Friday on dispute resolution and NHBRC. So colleagues, I know it's information overload and there's a lot of queries and some of you have to go to lunch, to your appointments, but thank you so much for joining. Maybe before I close, Ms. Kwenyama, do you want to just maybe comment on just takeaways from today and before we close?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Yes, I just want to really sympathize with the challenges that have been experienced regarding this system. It is but a system, and we know that when systems are implemented, there are bound to be glitches and challenges, but eventually this will be sorted out. And in information sessions like this helps a lot from the people who have already interacted with the system to know exactly what we need to look out for. So I'm also perhaps saying this because we are also going to have the same challenges perhaps with our new system, because it is a new system. But thank you so much for this opportunity. And I did learn a lot from the property industry. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Advocate, maybe any announcement or emphasis?
Okay, thank you. Yes, just thank you everybody for attending. I know that things have been difficult in the last little while, and we are, you know, when you're trying to fix something, it always takes longer than expected. And to improve services, it means that you disrupt the current services as well. So please bear with us. We are improving, and when the system goes completely live and it's fully integrated, it's likely to make a big difference and to make things a lot better. So yeah, please do be patient with us, and we promise to improve. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. And also from stakeholders, I noted all your comments, the topics you're saying I must bring to you. Education, CPD, I will go speak to those departments to come and so they can speak to you. The portal, the IT system, I will ask them if they can come and do a webinar with us and take us through it. Advocate Vile, thank you so much. Ospo Pikweyama, thank you so much. Thokozane, Lerato, Busani, as well as Ms. Nzako Ngobeni. We appreciate your time and everyone who attended. We really, really appreciate, and I hope it was informative. Enjoy your day, colleagues, and goodbye.